Uh, in this video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to start talking about the nitty gritty of how to start your accumulation phase. Now, I call this my 10 rules to riches. All right, now those 10 rules for riches, we're only going to talk about four of them in this video, and those are one, pay yourself first. Number two, control your spending. And number three, control your debt. And then number four is to create a Murphy fund. All right, and now let's take those in order and let's kind of think about it. Now, I would love for you to create a budget. Create a budget so that at the beginning of every month, right, you assign each dollar, you assign it a job to do. And what happens is this allows you to control your spending because your income is your greatest, by far, your greatest wealth accumulator. And most people can't do that. Yeah, they don't, right? They don't have the discipline, they don't have the time, they don't have the inclination, they don't create a budget. I got it. I got it. I understand. Okay. Now, if that's you, I want you to think about this. And let's think about another method other than creating a detailed budget every month. And that other method is this. Now, I'm going to make an assumption. That assumption is that you pay your electric bill every month. Yeah, you pay your mortgage every month. You figure out a way to get groceries every month. Okay? Now I'm gonna just make that assumption. I know it's kind of a stretch, but I'm gonna make that assumption. All right, if that's true, if that's you and you figure out a way to pay your bills every month, then what I want you to do is at the beginning of every month, I want you to pay you just like you would a bill, just like you would a bill. Now, I would love for that to be 10 to 15% of your take home income. Some people can't do that. So start off at I don't know, $100 a month, $200 a month, $500 a month, whatever it is you can do, right? But start off paying yourself first. And then you'll figure out a way, promise, you'll figure out a way to pay your electric bill because you always have, right? But pay yourself first because what happens too often is we pay ourselves with the end of the money, right? At the end of the month. And there's 2 month at the end of the money. Yeah. And so what we end up doing is we always kind of get this thing, well, I'll start next month. I'll start next month. I'll start next month. And you don't. You never do. Right. And a lot of us are in that situation. Now, if that's you, pay yourself first. And I'll give you a little warning here. The first month, it's going to really stink. It's going to really hurt because you're going to pay yourself first and you're going to think, wow, that money went away and I can't use it. Right. And it's going to hurt. The second month is not going to be much better. By the third month, you've adjusted and you figured out a way to make it all work. So, rule number one, pay yourself first at the beginning of every month and live off of what's left. Okay. Now, again, I would love for that to be 10%. If it can't be 10% or 15%, if it can't be that, then start off smaller, but pay yourself at the beginning of every month. Okay. Number two, control your spending. Control your spending. Now, have people have talked about this, where we live beyond our means, and you've heard people say, yeah, you got to live within your means. Yeah. Yeah. Because again, the greatest wealth building tool you have is your income. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to live within that income and not live on credit cards, not live on debt. And that's going to take some adjustment, particularly early on. It's going to take some adjustment. You're going to have to figure out how to do that. And for the rest of your life, you're going to have to learn how to control your spending. Now, what's going to happen is that hopefully what will happen is you'll get raises and you'll climb ladders and you'll get more money and things of this nature. And when you do that, right, then your standard of living will increase. But you still need to live within your means, right? Control your spending. All right. Number three, control your debt. Control your debt. One of the toughest things, if your income is your greatest wealth building tool, right? If your income is your greatest wealth building tool, and when that money comes in, it already has somebody else's name on it, it's hard to build that. It's hard to save money for you. So you're going to have to control your debt. You're going to have to control your debt. And that means you're going to have to get out of debt. Right now, I've had people say, "Well, geez, I've got to have a car. I've got to have. I've got medical debt. I have school loan debt. That's a big thing, right? I got credit card debt. Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it. There's lots and lots of different kinds of debt. Okay, now the first thing you need to do is you need to prioritize on how you're going to pay that debt. So what's most important in your budget, in the way that you're going to spend that money? Well, the most important thing is you need to make sure that you have clothing, food, housing, right? Clothing, food, housing. That doesn't mean that you go eat out every night. That means that you need to prioritize those things: clothing, food, and housing, right? And then after that, right, comes things like transportation, your car, right? I understand you got a car. You're not going to have to, and maybe what you've got is you've got debt on that car, right? That can be huge, right? I want you to think about that. We'll get back to that later on. But your car debt is a problem. School debt, that's a problem, right? And credit card debt. Now, the easiest one of these to control is your credit card debt. So let's look at paying that one first. And then what we want to do is, the way that we want to pay that off is probably through the debt snowball. And by that, I mean you list all of your debts, smallest to largest. You pay off the smallest debt first. Pay the minimum amount on all the others, and stop putting money on the credit cards. Pay the smallest one off, and then take that total money, right? And then put it to the next one. And then take that total money and put it to the next one until you get all of them paid off. Now, I know people will say, but Mike, if I put it with the largest interest first, right, I'll actually end up paying less interest. And that's true, right? And if you can do that, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But what happens if you do the debt snowball, where you take the smallest debt first? You tend to get victories earlier. And once you get victories, then what this does is this helps encourage you to continue to do that and to get out of debt. All right, so control your debt. All right, number 4 is create a Murphy fund. Yeah, create a Murphy fund. What is that? What's a Murphy fund? Well, Murphy is in control of the universe, right? You've heard the term, that the Murphy's law. If anything can go wrong, it will. Yeah, yeah. So what's going to happen is that you're going to run into problems that are going to derail, right, your investment program. You're going to run into problems that's going to create issues for you. Yeah, that's Murphy. That's Murphy. All right. So what do we do? Well, most people, what they do is they reach into the credit card and they pay, they throw a credit card at it. Right. If you need new tires, they throw a credit card at it. If you need something happens with your car, right, they throw a credit card at it. And then what happens is you've increased your debt. All right. So one of the first things that you ought to do is you ought to create a Murphy fund. Murphy is going to reach up and bite you. Promise. He will. He's going to reach up and bite you. So what do? Right? You create a fund for Murphy. Right? Now, I've heard people talk about $1,000 fund, $2,000 fund, whatever you're comfortable with. Right? I would like at least to see $2,000 in there, because everything's going up. Goodness, you can't hardly buy a new set of tires without, spending over $1,000 now, right? Suppose that your air conditioner goes out, that's a $5,000, $6,000, $8,000 investment, right? So what you're comfortable with, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. How are you going to get that? I say, Mike, I can't do that. How am I going to create that? Well, hold a garage sale, make a little bit of money, do something on the side. When you first start paying yourself first, put that money first into a Murphy fund, and don't start your investing until you have that Murphy fund built. At least $2,000, right? So these are some of the things that I would encourage you to do. This is our first 4 of our 10 rules of riches, which is to pay yourself first, control your spending, control your debt, and create a Murphy fund. Now, we'll get into others later, okay? Promise we will. But I want you to kind of think about those to start off with, okay? I'm Mike O'Neill with Money Coach. See you soon.